All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome on back to the Cinema Lords podcast, short number 6. And I'm coming to you guys fresh out of the barbershop today. Just went and got all nice and cleaned up for Portland. And I, unlike Coleman, had absolutely no problem forking my money over to my barber to make me look good, you know? Speaking of Portland, for the Minifans out there, it is Portland week. I am recording on Wednesday afternoon, so we're just a few days out now. Very excited, expecting it to be a shit show, but either way, I know it's going to be a damn good time. Also looking forward to hopefully meeting some of you fine folk, because I really haven't had the opportunity to do so before. But yeah, really excited for this weekend. Can't wait. Also want to just say right off the top, thank you to Kirk for allowing this episode of the podcast to be on the new Kirk Minahan show network. Anytime my show can be seen by more people, I really appreciate it. You know, it's just a great opportunity, and I'm thankful. So thanks, Kirk. Thanks to the network. Yeah, you know, looking forward to talking to you guys all this weekend. For today, we're going to be banging through a whole bunch of topics, and I'm going to kind of just be moving kind of quick. It's been a while since I've been in here and been able to talk to you guys. I've just been busy. I've had a lot going on, and I just haven't had the opportunity to watch as many things as I normally would, and I definitely haven't had the opportunity to come in here and chop it up like I normally would. So today we got quite a few things to bang through. I'm going to be doing some Oscars talk real quick. I just got a couple thoughts there. And then I'm going to bang through, I think, 5 movie reviews that I got. I'm just going to kind of bang right through them. So yeah, we're going to be moving fast, but we got lots to talk about. We're going to start with the Oscars before we get into the reviews. Like I said, it's been a little while, so I haven't talked to you guys since well before the Oscars. Overall, I thought it was a pretty good show this year. I enjoyed it. The Jimmy Kimmel opening monologue was awful, but I don't think that was much of a surprise. I kind of expected that going in. I think without a doubt, the best part of the show was Ryan Gosling's performance of I Am Ken. It was fucking fantastic. Everybody enjoyed it. I didn't see anything negative online on Twitter. Everybody that was in attendance seemed like they loved it. I mean, obviously the big one was Margot Robbie because she was sitting right in front of him. So it just seemed like everybody overall just agreed that this was probably the best part of the entire night. I was a little surprised that they gave the Best Actress to Emma Stone just because she had just gotten it a couple years ago, and I feel like they tend to kind of space them out rather than give, quick succession. But, hey, good for Emma Stone. I'm a fan, so good for her. I was a little disappointed that Paul Giamatti didn't get the Best Actor. I wasn't surprised. I mean, Cillian Murphy was fantastic in Oppenheimer, but I was really hoping that this was going to be Giamatti's time to win, and he did a great job in The Holdovers. I really, really loved that movie, and I thought he was, in large part because of that, he was so great in that role. It's a shame. It's a shame, you know what I mean? It's a shame that he had to go up against such a fucking giant in Cillian Murphy this year, but it is what it is. The only other thing, I guess, is the Best Picture with Al Pacino. That was weird. That was definitely kind of weird. I think that was a prime example of why we shouldn't be having these actors who are like 80 plus years old going out and doing these, fucking Jesus Christ, announcing who won, but by themselves. They should be out there with somebody else just kind of to help them and make sure that nothing goes off the handle. You know what I'm saying? But it was just weird because there was no nomination segment at all. So they showed it a bunch of times who the nominees were. So if you were watching the whole time, you knew who it was. But it was still weird to just get none of the nominations, like the little cuts. But either way, it was just weird. I thought it just wasn't the best look, especially for it to be the last one of the night. But it is what it is, So yeah, like I said, overall, pretty good Oscars, I thought, for damn sure. Oppenheimer obviously cleaned up, did some serious damage. We're going to be talking about one of the other Oscar-nominated movies today, American Fiction. Before we get there, though, let's start off. Let's start with Migration. This can be for any parents that are listening to the podcast who have young ones. Newest animated picture from Illumination. They are known for the Despicable Me, the Minions franchise there. They also did Mario Brothers, which was one of the biggest movies of all time, and obviously last year made 1.3 billion, I believe, something like that. Made a whole lot of money. Illumination. Anyways, I thought it was pretty good. Follows, that little duck family trying to head south for the winter. They had never done it before. Overall, I thought it was pretty good. It definitely wasn't on the level that, say, like the Despicable Me Minions franchises. It wasn't on the level of, say, like the best things that Pixar and Disney are putting out. It's not as good as the Toy Stories, the Finding Nemo's, the Monsters, Inc. But it was enjoyable. It was funny. It had the cutesy moments. I think it's good for, like I said, young kids. As someone who's been spending a lot of time with a 2-year-old lately, she likes to watch like so many of the same movies like over and over. So it just gets repetitive. This is nice to have another thing just to kind of add to the rotation. You know what I mean? As always, some good castings. Aquafina, she was in Shang-Chi and Crazy Rich Asians. She's like the main character. You got Kumail Ali Najinian as Mac. Elizabeth Banks. Danny DeVito, which Danny DeVito is kind of like the wacky uncle. He was definitely the best part of this movie, in my opinion. But like I said, just pretty enjoyable. Probably a hard, I don't know, C+, I'd say. C+, maybe a B-. But like I said, for parents who are looking for new movies to throw in to have their kids watch, it's pretty good. Check it out. I laughed. Next is something I really, really enjoyed a lot. I've always been a fan of the rom-com genre, probably because I grew up with an older sister and then my mom as well. They both love rom-coms, so I used to watch them all the time growing up. So they've kind of just always had a little spot in my heart, soft spot. And Anyone But You was the new one that came out over the fall, I believe it was. Sydney Sweeney, she's from Euphoria, White Lotus. Glenn Powell, who was in Top Gun Maverick, he played Hangman. This is like another one of those R-rated comedies, or R-rated rom-coms, I should say. It reminded me a lot of No Hard Feelings, which came out over the summer, the one with Jennifer Lawrence there. And that kind of thing is something I'm into in general, just kind of like going forward. I am here for the rated R rom-coms. I think that it's a good thing, and I think the theater could use that. I feel like everything's very much the same kind of fashion lately. People are afraid to make jokes, all of that. But I think comedies are starting to make a bit of a comeback. I liked a lot about this movie. I laughed a lot. Dermot Mulroney's character not being able to dive into the pool cracked me up. The Australian boyfriend was fucking hilarious. The guy swimming, cutting through the friggin' water like a fucking shark on crack. Good soundtrack for sure. Shout out Mac Miller and the Spins. I was very happy to see that. That was like right in the beginning, pretty much the opening credits. Which, speaking of the opening credits, I loved the end credits to this movie. It wasn't like one of those blooper reels, but it was a bunch of different scenes from the movie with the cast singing the Unwritten song by Natasha Bedingfield, which is a big part of the movie. It gets played a bunch of times. And I thought it was funny. I thought it was very funny just because you have to imagine that every single scene that they were filming, at the end of the scene when they're like, all right, wrap it up. All right, hang on. We have to do fucking Unwritten. And they just got to do that every single day, probably multiple times a day. But it was funny. I thought it was a good way to end the movie. I enjoyed it a lot. Good end credit. Like I said, good soundtrack. Unwritten. I got my laptop today for those of you that are watching on YouTube. Usually I just have my written notes. I feel like a big boy today. It's great. I think that was pretty much. Ooh, Australian accents. Somebody, I know this is pot calling the kettle black because my accent is outrageous. I've been told it 1,000 times. I basically have like 4 accents rolled into one. But Australian accents have got to be the worst thing of all time. They are awful. Their terminology, though, is fucking great. I will say that. Like, that cracks me up in itself. But god damn, is that accent just wildly, wildly fucking annoying. Also, I mean, just in general, too, I think the most important thing to take away from this movie is that while Sydney Sweeney is a very pretty girl, and I think we can all agree on that, very goddamn attractive, Glenn Powell is just gorgeous. That is a beautiful goddamn man. I'm a big fan. He was great in Top Gun. He was fucking Hangman. I thought his character was awesome. I liked him in this. He's in that fucking trailer for the new Twister movie, which actually looks like halfway decent. I'll probably check it out. But now I'm definitely going to check it out because he's in it. I'm in on Glenn Powell. I think he's a pretty decent actor. I liked him, like I said, a lot in Top Gun. He was good in this. Cracked me up a few times. I liked it. I liked this movie as a whole. I'd give it a hard B. It's maybe a little biased of me because I am, like I said, a fan of the genre. But I liked it a lot. And like I said, give me more of these going forward. Give me more of these R-rated rom-coms. I enjoyed it a lot. Excuse me. Let's see. From there, let's go to Iron Claw. Iron Claw, Zac Efron, Jeremy Allen White. 2 guys that I like a lot. I love both Shameless and The Bear. And I think Zac Efron kind of gets a bad rap because he doesn't do too many serious things. But I think Zac Efron movies are like just funny. I think they're just enjoyable. That new Ricky Stenicki one I thought was funny. What is it? Bad Grandpa, I think, is the one with De Niro. I thought that was funny. He was funny. Neighbors, obviously. I think he was funny in the Baywatch movie too. I just enjoy Zac Efron. But this is kind of like the true story of the Von Erich family, who were, a very huge family in the wrestling world as far as, bringing it to the forefront, making it more popular. And it's obviously, for those of you guys that know about it, it's a very tragic story, which this movie definitely has its very sad moments. There's no doubt about that. But I had high expectations going into this one. I'm a fan of both actors, like I said. The trailer looked good. I am a wrestling fan. I've been a professional wrestling fan for pretty much my entire life. And while this movie I thought was good, I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. I definitely had higher expectations. It didn't meet my expectations. I think there was a lot of good in this movie, but there was also some things that I really didn't like. And I think it definitely could have been a much better movie without doing too much to it. It's mostly kind of a pacing and filling out storyline thing was my kind of biggest problem. Say for instance, so basically the movie was very part one and part two to me. The part one was just almost all positivity, good times, laughs, wins. It was just rise. And then you get to the second half and it's just straight, which I get that's, I guess, how a lot of stories go. But I felt like this one, it felt funny to me because the second half of the movie is basically just all death. There's no actual story development, character development. It's just going from one brother to the next brother to the next brother, dead, and the scene. For instance, in the first half of the movie, the youngest Von Erich brother, he's not into the professional wrestling thing yet. He's not training to be like all of his other brothers. He's, a skinny guy. He's not in big shape. He doesn't look like he's lifting out and working out and trying to become a professional wrestler. It doesn't seem like it's going to be his thing. And then in the second half of the movie, all of a sudden it's just boom, he's a professional wrestler, just like that, which I thought was very strange. The second half of the movie, I felt needed a couple, either make the movie a little bit longer and just add some scenes to the second half of the movie, or you can probably cut out a little bit of the first chunk of the movie, a couple minutes here, a couple minutes there, and then add some scenes into the second half, keep the runtime the same, and you add in a scene or two in the second half of the movie that help flush out the storylines a little bit, where there is more of this road, how one brother, I think he was in China, I'm pretty sure it was, or maybe it was Japan. I think it was Japan. He ends up dying in Japan, but there was really no setup and lead to that. It's just all of a sudden it's hey, he's fucking coughing up blood and shit. Hey, he's dead. Hey, this kid's a professional wrestler now. Hey, he's dead. There needed to be more filling out, more flushing out of the storylines. And I think if it did that, it would be a much better movie. But overall, I think it was still solid. Like I said, I still enjoyed the movie. Definitely sad, but definitely had its fun moments as well. I would say it was a hard B. I would say that's what I just gave to Anyone But You. I feel like, to me personally, they're in the same vein for me. Giving them both B's makes sense to me. I know it's not going to make sense to everybody. There's definitely going to be some people that are like, what, are you fucking crazy? But it's just personal preference. I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed both the movies. Let's get into American Fiction, which I mentioned off the top. Nominated for both Best Picture and Best Actor, Jeffrey Wright. I thought both nominations were totally valid after watching the movie. I didn't really know much about the movie or have any idea kind of what I was in for going into it, and I loved it. First off, right out of the gate, it was way funnier than I expected it to be. I laughed a lot. There was also some very, deeply emotional, sad scenes too. So it was a good, mix. You know what I mean? It follows a black author who's basically fed up with people making money off the stories of stereotyping black people. So he decides to write a book of his own under a pen name, and of course it becomes a huge success. So now he's kind of got to deal with the inner struggle of the hypocrisy. Like, he wanted to basically make fun of the people that are doing this, and now look at that, boom, it's a huge success. So it's kind of tough. It's like, I love, do you want the money, but at what cost? But I thought it was great. Jeffrey Wright was really, really good in it. Most people, I would say, know him from Westworld. He was also just on the Batman, which was, in my opinion, awful, but he was in it. I thought he was great in this. I thought he was, like I said, I thought he was totally worthy of the nomination that he got. Sterling K. Brown was also fantastic. He plays Monk's brother. He was kind of almost like the comedic value in a way, but he was great. He had me cracking up. He was one of those old school one of those old school tough gays. You don't want to fuck with that guy. Sterling would have kicked your ass. But I thought he was really good. Like I said, I really, really enjoyed this movie more than I expected it to, just because I didn't really know what I was expecting even going into it. But I'd go like A-, I would say. I'd probably go A- here. I don't know. Yeah, I'd probably go A-. It's not quite an A, but it was really, really good. Definitely one of my favorite movies of the year, without a doubt. And like I said, totally, totally worthy of its nomination. From there, let's get to the last one. The last movie we have up is the most recent release. It is Roadhouse, which just came out on Amazon Prime. There was a little bit of controversy about whether it should be released into theaters or if it got a direct-to-streaming, because obviously that's the deal that they signed. But then the trailer came out, and everyone was like, holy shit, this trailer looks awesome. Like, why is this not in the theaters? But, classic remake of the 1989 movie of the same name. This one starring Jake Gyllenhaal in the lead, which I love Gyllenhaal. I think he's pretty awesome. I don't think he has very many misses in his career. I think for the most part, he's picked really good movies, really good roles. I'm a big Gyllenhaal fan. And then Conor McGregor, who I actually thought was, like, good in the movie. Like, good's kind of probably a strong word, but like the role was good for him. I think he did a good job in it. I thought it fit really well. Him as like the bad guy who's kind of fucking a psychopath. Overall, I would say that this is one of those good bad movies. Like, is it bad? Yes, absolutely. I don't really think there's any debating that. But did I still enjoy it? Was I entertained? And will I watch it again? Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. I mean, for starters, for the bad, I would say that the dialogue in a lot of parts is just super, super corny. Some of the CGI is really, really bad. The opening fight scene with Post Malone looks like it's straight out of a video game, like a cutscene from a video game. And as I was watching it, I was like actually thinking to myself, am I going to be able to make it through this entire movie? If the whole thing is like this, like I don't think I'm going to be able to make it through even an hour of this movie. Like, this is going to be brutal. Thankfully, they didn't do that for the entire movie. They did do some weird camera work with the fight scenes that was different and kind of trying to be like techie kind of, and I didn't really care for it, but it was much better than the opening scene. So I was kind of cool with that. There was some cool scenes, like some cool fight scenes though. The bar scene, is the bar fight room scene, where Conor McGregor and Jake Gyllenhaal meet for the first time, was definitely the best scene of the movie. It was funny. It was fucking chaotic. It was really good. I would say that the CGI also at the end of the movie with like the boat shit was pretty awful. But I will also say, speaking of the boat shit, I am a sucker for that whole setting. I think this was filmed in the DR, and I'm a sucker for the whole like oceans, boats, fucking that whole scene at the end there. I thought was just fun just because of all that shit. I'm a sucker for that. Let's see, what else do I got here? I did think it was pretty funny that Jake Gyllenhaal goes from like a UFC, an ex-UFC fighter who's obviously a really tough guy. He was a good fighter. He becomes a bouncer because he needs this money and all that. Cool. Perfect. Sounds good. And then second half of the movie comes and he straight up turns into Tom Cruise from Mission Impossible. I thought that was very comical. I just didn't see it coming. Again, to that boat scene, he fucking launches one boat, jumps off, lands on the other one. I was like, oh wow, this guy's fucking super spy. He's fucking James Bond, whatever Tom Cruise's name is, like I said. But like I said, overall, this was just a really good, bad movie, which sometimes you're just in the mood for. Like, sometimes it's what you want. You just want to, like, turn your brain the fuck off. You want to grab some candy or some popcorn, plop your ass down on your fucking fat ass couch, and you want to just be entertained by, like, stupidity and some things blowing up. And, like, even, like, the corny dialogue, because it's so corny, is, like, almost funny in itself. It's like it's like, this is so freaking ridiculous. But yeah, this is probably C- to C range, but definitely gonna come back and watch it again because, like I said, it was entertaining as fuck. But I think that's gonna be pretty much all I have for you guys as far as reviews and stuff. A couple of news things were just kind of Happy Gilmore 2 is officially like in production, which Adam Sandler's at the helm. It's gonna be on Netflix, so to me, bring it on. Like, that all sounds good to me. There was another remake that I saw that I thought was Pirates of the Caribbean. They're doing a reboot, which I think is stupid to do like a full blown reboot. So we're just gonna like do Jack Sparrow over again instead of just like expanding the world and kind of doing more stories within like the setting that we've already developed. I thought that was kind of weird. I think that was pretty much the only things I had as far as news go. Pedro Pascal already done filming for Last of Us 2, which is interesting considering the fact that filming just started like 3, maybe 4 weeks ago. It was like the middle of February. So like, yeah, probably like 4 weeks ago, and he's already done. So that's definitely interesting. But I think that's pretty much all I got. I'm going to hopefully be back in here soon. I definitely have Poor Things at the top of my list as things I want to watch. Ghostbusters just hit theaters, which I liked the first one, so I might go and check out part 2. Kong vs. Godzilla, or, whatever the fuck it is, Kong and Godzilla, because I think they're teaming up in this one. That comes out this Friday, which I'm probably going to check that one out, because I've liked those movies so far, the MonsterVerse that they've created. I thought they've all been pretty enjoyable, and I thought Godzilla vs. Kong was really enjoyable, and I think the CGI in those is tight, and they're just a fucking good time. So I'll probably be checking some of those out. Hopefully, if I can get to the theater, then we can come back in here. We can bang out a couple things. There's also a couple shows that I've been really meaning to check out. Shogun's at the top of the list. I've heard really great things about that. Also, Masters of Air, I've heard some good things about, so I still have to check that one out as well. But a lot of watching to do. I'm going to try to start picking up the pace, and I'm going to start to try to pump out more. But I think that's about all I got for you guys today. We just covered a shit ton of things in like 22 minutes, so I'm pretty happy about it. But I think that's going to wrap it up. Thanks again to Kirk and to the network for putting this show out there for everyone to check out. I hope you guys enjoyed it. For those of you that did watch, smash the subscribe button, as Kirk likes to say. Jokingly, of course, but I actually mean it. Subscribe. And hopefully I'll see some of you guys in Portland this weekend. But for now, happy watching. Take it easy.